The ANC negotiations team has over the past week held multiple engagements
I'm the national
with political
spokesperson.
parties who
We are
receive
here
seats
today
in the
for
seventh
a
democratic
press briefing
parliament.
led by our national
The
officials.
engagements also
We
looked
have our Treasurer General
at the
to
national dialogue
my
that
right
should
and
lead
your left.
to a social
we have our
compact
national
on the major
chairperson next to
challenges,
her. We
unemployment,
have our
inequality,
Deputy
poverty
Secretary General at the
facing South Africa.
far right.
The ANC
and
is
your
not
left.
yet
I'm
in a
bit
position to
dyslexic
give
when it comes
details
to left and right. Our
in
Secretary
relation to
General,
these,
our Deputy
discussions which
President has
started
also
with,
joined us today,
exploratory
and our
discussions,
Commander-in-Chief, President
and
Julius
that
Malema,
led
will
to
be leading our
firming
media
up
briefing.
positions
Thank you,
by
President.
political parties and us
This one.
as well, firming up our position, which you know by now is government of national unity with different political parties. Agreements will be made public in the interest of transparency and accountability to the electorate. The ANC is humbled by the fact that the spirit of the engagement with all South Africa's political parties have been characterized by the common commitment to put the interest of the people first and to ensure that our country comes together to address the common challenges it faces. With regards to the selection process of premier candidates for the 6 provinces where the ANC has achieved an outright majority, as well as the 2 where we are a majority party, the interviews with the candidates have gone well. The national officials conducted interviews with ANC premier candidates on May 10, Wednesday to 12 June 2024. All interviews were observed by the chairperson of the ANC's Electoral Committee, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, or a member of the committee nominated by him. The Electoral Committee commended the national officials for the integrity of the process and the leadership that they demonstrated throughout. The committee expressed appreciation for the rigorous, thorough and impartial approach by the national officials at a time when they were required to provide leadership in many other pressing national developments. The national officials posed a range of questions to the candidates covering ethical and capable leadership as set out through the eye of the needle and the 6 priorities in the ANC's 2024 election manifesto that are critical to speeding up transformation and improving the lives of the people. Our jobs plan, building our industries to include inclusive economy, tackling the high cost of living, investing in people, and defending democracy and advancing freedom. We also interviewed candidates on building a developmental state, building capable state, local government, etc. We also were impressed by the candidates that were interviewed and commended provinces for quality of their nominees. The ANC renewal process seeks to restore trust and confidence as leader of the National Democratic Revolution. At its last 2 national conferences, the ANC vowed to do more effectively to address society's challenges, conduct its affairs in line with its core values. The candidates that were announced today: Eastern Cape, Lubabalo Oscar Mabuyane; Free State, Comrade Makwin Letsoa Matai; Gauteng, Comrade Hendrik Panyaza Lesufi; Limpopo, Comrade Poppy Constance Ramatuba; Mpumalanga, Comrade Mandandlovu; Northwest, Comrade Kagiso Lazarus Bukhosi; Northern Cape, Comrade Zamani Sawa. The ANC national officials believe that the above comrades are equal to the challenges of our struggle for a better life for all, that are difficult and diverse and require honest, capable and dedicated leaders. As we have done since the formation of our movement more than 112 years ago, the ANC will put the interest and the well-being of South Africans first. We have engaged, like we said, with a number of political parties, and we have reached a breakthrough on the common agreement that we need to work together. Whether others call this GNU or they call it any other thing for that matter, but we have agreed that as political parties we need to gravitate to the center, except a few who did not expressly support the GNU, and we are not going to retreat on the concept of the GNU because we believe that the government of national unity to us represent the outcome of the elections. We did not get outright majority. We are a 40% party. We have been supported and voted by 6 million people who want us to continue with the transformational agenda to changing the lives of the people for the better. We are in no position to govern this country alone. We need to work with others. Where we are not in charge, like in KwaZulu-Natal, we leave it to those who are above us to provide leadership and be mature to invite us, if it is possible, to actually participate. Where we lead, like in Gauteng and Northern Cape, we have provided that leadership. And we are talking to political parties as we speak right now. We believe that the agreements that we'll reach will be made public and will be engaged transparently as we move tomorrow towards the election of the President and the Speaker of the National Assembly, and on Saturday to the NCOP, also to elect the chair of the NCOP and other presiding officers. And in this regard, we have engaged in these discussions with an open mind. We know that there are other parties who are on the other side to our thinking. Nonetheless, they've got the majority. They've got people who said they too must come to the party, and we engaged them on the issue of the government of national unity, and they've agreed to come to the party. We are not afraid of government of national unity. We will work within this government to represent the interest of 6 million and more South Africans who want to see change, who want to see development, and we will work within the legislatures to entrench the principle of accountability among our public representatives, to fight things like corruption, to ensure that we are held accountable, and where necessary, we are held accountable through the prescripts of the legislative framework and the arms of the state, like the legislature. In this particular instance, we believe that we have reached a major breakthrough, that the majority of political parties in our country agree that this moment requires working together, not to get into it like a melting pot, but with set principles for others which are not negotiable. But nonetheless, there is an importance of working together to move the country forward. South Africa is important to all of us, and South Africans want services, want development, want a functioning government. And we've suffered a setback in this election, a setback that did not mean that we're out. We're still a party, but not with outright majority. So, which means that walking and strutting like peacocks and arrogance cannot work in this instance. The most important political approach, which is matured for our democracy, is the fact that the people have spoken. And they've spoken in the way they've spoken, and we need to interpret that correctly. And people did not say that you must work on your own. They said you must work with others. We defined the concept, and at the same time, everybody embrace this concept, even though others have their own interpretation. So to us, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white. The fundamental question is, how do we move South Africa forward, having interpreted the outcome of the elections? So to us, the National Democratic Revolution must breathe life within the framework of the government of national unity, notwithstanding what others want. We understand the anxiety, and we have been victims in the past couple of days of fake news that we have noted, that we keep dealing with in the context of these negotiations, that there is a foregone conclusion that the ANC have got an agreement with certain particular parties and all of that, and which is not the truth. And I've explained at the Rock that we've got no outcome that said to us we will get to this stage where we've got to talk with others. We work flat out not to reach a stage where we have to get ourselves below 50%. Now that we are here, we must talk to everyone. And that is what is important. And with the majority, albeit reduced, of the ANC, we have used that to engage maturely with political parties and who have understood that this is not the time to exchange blows. We have done that in the campaign. The people have spoken to vilify and talk bad about other people politically is not important. The ANC want a share of its manifesto implemented, like others. 1%, 2%, 2, 3 seats, 4 seats, they too have been elected by the people of South Africa. So we've opened ourselves up and invited everybody to participate. Beyond that, we need to engage in a national dialogue, and that is what is important. The ANC itself as an organization and as a party, it's time to pause and reflect on this moment, and that political reflection is going to continue as we engage among ourselves, also with our allies, about this moment and what it represents and what we need to do to recover from it going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. I will take questions. And please identify yourself and the media house you're representing. Over to you, my sister.
Anastasia Mpomu, Jakarta News. SG, if I understand you correctly, you say at this moment you can't give us the names of any political parties because there's no agreement. But tomorrow, Parliament is sitting and there has to be voting for the Speaker and the President. How is that going to be done if we don't know which parties the ANC is going to work with? Are you not then concerned about the voting that is supposed to happen tomorrow?
We have met with all 17 political parties in the country, and they agree with the ANC. They've also raised their views in terms of what needs to happen in terms of the way forward. And we hope that we'll work with many of them in the election of the President and the Speaker. I'm not in a position at the present moment to deal with the details, as that is a matter that is still in the discussion. And once that is actually concluded, which is really a detail, fundamentally the most important point for us is foundational principles, which the discussions have not been characterized by transactional engagement, where people come to the table and demand this and that. They understand the moment require us to move forward faster, and then all other ingredients of the government of national unity will be defined in a strategic framework that we are working on as we speak. And we're working against time because we thought we'll sit, Parliament will sit later, but we are sitting tomorrow, we are there. So we've been working every day over time, and that's what is important.
Thank you very much. SABC?
It's Natasha Kuria from SABC. Mr. Bandula, you said that okay, you can't make the details of the framework public, but as much as you tell us in due time if you're going to be public or not, will the GNU be binding, legally binding? Thanks.
The statement that I've read to you for the second time, we said that we must, because define constitutionally what GNU represent today. We are not looking at something that is going to collapse like a municipality of Johannesburg or Ekurhuleni and changing the mayor every weekend. So what is important here is that we're governing a country, you know, and then governing the country requires that the JNU itself, as much as the foundational principles are clearer, the most important question, how is it kept together for a period of time and not being petty and not it becoming a melting pot of political parties coming in there and swallowing their identity and failing to hold others accountable in the process of governance. So that's what is important. So the question is how that is going to be. It's a matter that we will keep working on. We don't stop tomorrow. And those who are part of this will be part of the process of shaping up what needs to happen about this GNU phenomenon, including institutionalizing it to an extent that it become part and parcel of the framework of the law in the Republic of South Africa. That will guide us for the next 5 years.
Stand here.
News. 4 questions. Which parties have formally indicated that they accept the invitation to join the GNU? That's the first one. Then is the ANC giving itself a deadline that by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, you must have a sense of who you're going to be, the speaker, etc. Then which leaders will President Cyril Ramaphosa be meeting this evening? Julius Malema has indicated that he is one of them. Will you be meeting John Steenhuisen, for example? And then the last one, the EFF has indicated that they don't want to join the GNU, but they would like to join as speaker or in any other capacity. Are you negotiating outside of the GNU for any reason with any party?
We have negotiated, not negotiated. We have engaged in exploratory discussions with MK Party, and we will continue to engage with them in exploratory discussions. We have engaged in exploratory discussions with the EFF, and we did not find each other on the issue of the GNU. We have accepted that particular point, we move on. We have engaged with the DA, we agree on the GNU with them. We have engaged with PA, they agree with the GNU. We have engaged with UDM, they agree with GNU. We have engaged with the IFP, they agree with the GNU. We have engaged with Al-Jama, albeit with the reservations. They agree to work with us going forward. We have engaged with Rise Mzansi. They did not have challenges, except matters of the detail in terms of how the GNU is going to shape up. They are not fundamentally opposed to it. We have engaged with Freedom Front Plus. They've agreed to the GNU, and we have engaged with National Colored Congress. They've also agreed, but have got reservations in relation to how that shape up going forward. So we have not spoken to UAT. We have not spoken to Action SA. Because UAT, I think it's just a question of time. We will talk to them between now and tomorrow and engage with them and so on. Action SA, we are open to engaging with them, even though we know that they've pronounced that they don't want to talk to the ANC. We think that is something that constrains engaging with them, but nonetheless, we have not closed the door from talking to them. So we have talked to all more or less 17 plus political parties except 2. And then you know that other political parties have been in court, not knowing whether they will be there tomorrow and all of that. But we have had exploratory discussions, which were good and exploratory and progressive and all of that. The spirit of the discussion in terms of the foundational principles of all of this is that you don't share power, but you work with others in a way of cooperation. And then in this particular instance, the ANC would like to work with as many political parties as possible. We have spoken to the IFP, and also they've agreed to come to the party in terms of the GNU. So that to us represents a major breakthrough. The question of the detail of what happens tomorrow, it's a matter that will be pronounced by the parties concerned overnight and up until tomorrow. That will happen. The work doesn't stop tomorrow. it continues to the formation of government itself, once the president is elected. But also in terms of working in the legislatures, these are uncharted waters where in which a majority party like ours is reduced with its majority, and now it has got to work with other political parties within the framework of collaboration, which we have never had before except at local government. Now at national government, we've got it. How do we then deal with that particular matter going forward? So our discussions, it's not a discussion with partners, it's discussion with political parties irrespective of ideological and political background. Of course, others want to narrow us to the ideology when the posture and the moment does not allow. It is very easy to say, let's work as black political parties and do that. We can argue the whole night about the ideology. We in the ANC do not subscribe to the notion of just narrowly black political party, because in terms of our existence and understanding of South Africa, we subscribe to colonialism of a special time. That South Africa was colonized, but it became a colonized country where the colonized and the colonizer coexisted. So we are different from others precisely because of that. Two, we are non-racial because in our conceptualization of the struggle to liberate our people, the primary contradictions are about the resolve of the national question, which primarily it's about, yes, it is class, but gender and race, because we were divided in this country in terms of race and racially segregated. So the question of resolving the national question primarily is what informed the ANC and how we approach the South Africa's situation and struggle and liberation for the people of South Africa. So we are not just a party that exists without ideology and just grab everything else that passes by, and we don't understand ourselves and where we come from. The notion of blackness arises in the context of others, where in which it is not clearly defined. From the point of view of ideology, what are we talking about? And working in cooperation, it doesn't mean that tomorrow you become that party or that party becomes you. It means here is the moment. You have lost power, and in losing that power, you need to work with others to achieve the result. But it doesn't mean that you are going to die. We have never died in 1994 with 62%. We'll never die with 40%. 6 million people want us to live, and we are going to live. Living means pursuing the national democratic revolution. And that is what is fundamental to us in terms of our policies, in terms of our manifesto, and that is it. We are not going to pursue a manifesto of another party or be forced to become another party and all of that. Neither will those parties accept to be. Yeah, we are talking to people who wanted us to be below 50%, and they've achieved that particular result, including those who characterize themselves as left. They wanted us to be in this moment. Now they want to lock us into a prison because that's what they wanted to achieve. We're not going there, to that prison. Whether you can call it Polsmo and all of that, it will remain empty without us. We are standing on the side of things where in which we say, let's work together. And that is what is fundamental to us. And this working together is not transactional. It's not about, I want this post and that post, I want this position and that position. The question is, how do we work together with this result to serve the people of South Africa better? This is what the people wanted. We didn't want it. And then we interpret what the people want correctly in order to serve the people of South Africa. And that is why we say, in the foundational principles, one of the important and imperative that we need to subscribe to is constitutionalism, the rule of law. And at the same time, we need to subscribe to non-sexism and non-racialism. You know, the binding principles that arise out of our constitution. And that is what is important. And then we work for South Africans. Everybody subscribes to the notion that we are for South Africa first. This is where we are. And then let's go and move forward and work together as a nation and as different political parties. It doesn't mean that we are going to agree in this parliament and it's going to be nice in the next 20 days and so and all of that, or in this government and all of that part. We are going to move South Africa forward in a particular strategic framework to get things to happen.
New York Times.
Hi, SG, John Eligo with the New York Times. Just two questions. Have you all, I know you said that the agreement still needs to be, formalized and there are still things we need to figure out, but have you all garnered enough support to get President Ramaphosa re-elected tomorrow? And the second question, when do you anticipate that the full details of the GNU will be set in stone and sealed? Will that happen tomorrow, or do you think that it's going to be a longer-term thing as Parliament is going on?
We will deal with that matter tomorrow. The strategic framework will be made available once it is agreed and will be signed by political parties that agree to it. And it will be a document that will be engaged by everybody. And then we'll take it from there. The question of tomorrow is not about whether the president gets elected or not. We need to get the country and move the country forward. And tomorrow is the beginning of that. And that's what is important. But like I said, tomorrow is an important beginning in the post-elections period. And we have subscribed to the notion that we can work together. And working together means that there's a whole lot of things that we still need to work on in these uncharted waters in relation to how we're going to behave, work together, safeguard the interests of our constituencies and our people going forward. And that's what is important for us.
Thank you very much. And I go right at the back and then I'll come, this will be the last round. Right at the back, please identify yourself, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Awani from the Sunday Times. SG, and the DA, according to the information that we get, is that they say they part of their demands, if they get into the national executive or they get some position in the legislature, they want to govern them without interference, which basically means they want to implement their own policies without the interference of the other parties of the regime. What is the stance of the ANC to something about?
We are in the negotiations. The DA is not a branch of the ANC. They've got the right to think for themselves. They've got the right to put issues on the table. We engage. And so stop, disabuse yourselves about thinking what the DA thinks is ANC and what ANC thinks is DA. If I say this today and then the DA disagrees with me and the ANC, doesn't mean that the DA have ceased to be DA. And that is what is important. So the ANC engages with everybody with decency, maturity, and the most important thing to safeguard who we are and what we represent. And briefly what I talk about here, which is the National Democratic Revolution. It's a long thing to explain in a press conference. It will need a workshop and a lecture advert for you to understand who we are and what we stand for. So I'm just dealing with the synopsis of it. And all what I'm explaining here is that we are involved in a discussion and there is nobody who has come to us with demands. There are people who say, okay, this is what we think. And then we negotiate. That's the nature of negotiations. That's the nature of engagement. And if somebody says, no, to find each other, we think we must move in this direction, that's it. And it doesn't mean that that political party, when you find each other, you have now disappeared, you have killed your identities. That's not what it means. There is this hurried thought which is selling like petrol, not even petrol, paraffin, that the ANC has got a deal with the DA and is about to be swallowed. How do you get swallowed with 6 million people? And if the DA were to get some of these things that it wants, it means the ANC will be dead. We have been pushed back, but we are not out. So we are in no position to abandon everything else of what we believe in with 6 million people who have voted for us. our people every day and our membership, which is fragile at the present moment because we are below 50, has been pushed back, and it is said to them every day that the ANC is going. It is not, because 6 million people said it's not time for us to go. So we'll move from that 6 million to come back, and that's it.
Very much. Newsroom?
Thank you very much. It's Zianda from Newsroom Africa. We've just come from a briefing with Julius Malema, where you've been saying that this, has not been transactional, but he's basically said that if you don't reinstate Ulebo Dunga as the finance MMC whatever was discussed with the president is off the table. My question goes back to is twofold. The first is the ANC's reflection of how these discussions, exploratory conversations, however you frame it, have actually had possible permutations at a provincial and a local government level. But again, the question that my colleague Bloomberg asked, who's the president meeting with tonight? Because Julius Malema said that he's meeting with the president. Does this also include the DA's John Steenhuisen?
The president has met with Julius Malema in Johannesburg yesterday. He has met with John Steenhuisen. He's meeting with the leader of the IFP. He will meet with others that he will meet with if they deem it fit that they want to see the president. And that is what is important. We've got a negotiating team led by the Secretary General. We have met all political parties. We are not closing the door to anybody. What is discussed between closed doors, between leaders, is not a matter sometimes of public consumption, because you've got to respect each other. Those are the parameters. Because if you talk to somebody and then you then say, even before you reach an agreement, and then address the media and say, if the following do not happen, I'm not coming, uneasy. So what are you trying to say? So who said that you will be engaged? We are negotiating, we are engaging with everybody, but not with the cap in the head. There's nothing we beg from the EFF, anywhere in the country. And we are engaging with them with decency. And if they treat us like as if we don't exist and we are addressed like that, we don't think that's the way for political parties to speak to each other. The ANC speaks even to a party with one man seat, because the moment you start to play big and become arrogant, that's not the nature of democracy and leadership. We might have talked things during the campaign and engaged, crisscross the country, criticize each other. The country has now spoken. Interpret that moment and decide. We have done that. This is not the time to be telling somebody whether he's relevant or irrelevant. The question is that the people have spoken and they've said, we don't give you an outright majority. So what do you do about it? The ANC must go all out here, throwing tantrums against EFF and everybody else. The moment require us to sit around the table and talk. If the discussions are going to be deadlocked by transactional issues that happen at local government level, it's a choice of a political party that it makes, and I can't pronounce on that. I'm neither a spokesperson of the EFF or its fan.
Eyewitness News?
From Eyewitness News. Mr. Balunga, the ANC in the past has always had a posture, at least for local governments, that the party with the most votes has to be the one that forms the government. Even with the ANC right now, with 40% leading this GNU talks. So I just want to know that how does this align with the actions of the ANC in KZA, where it is forming a coalition that excludes the party with the most votes in KZA, being obviously the MK party?
We have not excluded any party. It is upon the party that leads in KZN to interpret the moment. So that party, when it was supposed to interpret the moment and the responsibility that the people of KZN has given to it, it went to the Constitutional Court. And then we've been waiting for that. So the Constitutional Court pronounced yesterday. The ANC didn't win power. The ANC talks to everybody. So if people invite us to come to the GNU or Provincial Government of National Unity in KZN, we've been there before. And then we give our structures in the context of our framework, the mandate to respond to that situation in the manner in which they could. And we have not won power. If we won power in KZN, we would have spoken to everybody. Without outright majority, we would have spoken to everybody. Nationally, we didn't win power outrightly. We went to our NEC and decided and asked a strategic question. Like Lenin will ask, what is to be done? And then we answered, Government of National Unity. We went and we talked to everybody about it. Here is our position. Our president pronounced publicly, in the presence of the NEC at its conclusion, that we are moving with Government of National Unity, transparent and open, having engaged the whole day, because some of you reported that we are going to kill each other in that meeting. And that, you see, our meeting here did not even last for hours. It's gone. But there are people who are going to come and tell you that, and about 4 people, 5 people spoke in this meeting. But we are going to have 10 people who would have interpreted things we never know about out of this meeting. Now, the ANC have engaged with everyone. And we've got no responsibility in KZN to form government. And we have been approached and we have responded to that. And that's it. We have responded to that and will continuously engage with everybody in that particular context. So in Gauteng, we are leading. We don't have outright majority. We are speaking to all political parties. That's the initiative we have done. So we don't take the votes of the people for granted. And then we sit back. People have voted for us. We don't do anything about what mandate they've given to us. We respect them. We respect the 6 million people who have voted for us because they still want us to be in government. If we got 3 million people, I know, we will be stepping back and allowing others to lead. That will mean you are out of power. So you've got to be invited. We are when you invite yourself to a party, you're going to arrive there and then they don't give you food, they don't give you alcohol, they drink alone, and then they say, we don't know who you came with. So you don't do that. So even political parties with 1 seat, 2 seats have respected themselves in the process. They are not transactional, they are engaging, they talk about their interest and all of that. The ANC has got to respect that. That's democracy. We fought for that democracy. Painful as it is for us today that we are below 50%, but it's a democracy. That's what we fought for here in this country. That is so vibrant, bloodless, that you don't have protests, people crying and saying that we are robbed everywhere else in the country, accepting the results, and the majority party and the ruling party accepting the outcome and not doing shenanigans that are not clearly defined. That tells you that we are leading a solid country, and that is South Africa. And we should be proud as a South African today to be in South Africa after the elections. There is still the state. The police are there, the army is still there. There is a president who is waiting to be inaugurated, whom we don't know whether he will be confirmed tomorrow. That's the democracy. It's at play. So you've got to understand it in that way. You know, it took many countries a long time to be where we are. It took us a very short space of time because the foundation was strong. And what was that foundation? It's our constitution. Our people were queuing, they had challenges and all of that and so on. Some did not even vote and all of that. And they were very impatient in the queues and they left and so on. But who else has ever come out in this country and said, I think these elections are not free and fair? except one party that I don't want to talk about. And it went to court, and that's it. So the fact of the matter is that it's a democracy. We've accepted. Our results came out quicker as agreed. Sunday, the results will be certified, will be pronounced. We're all at the results center. We are done with elections now. And that's where we are.
The last hand will be yourself, my sister, right there at the back. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, you'll be the last one.
I just wanted to get clarity on Mawani's question. Because it's not limited to the DA, this question around the same mandate. You've said just now that the ANC wants to advance and drive its own manifesto in terms of the seventh administration. And I would imagine that every single political party that is negotiations with is ideally wanting the same. So have you discussed, as the ANC, or are you going to be able to entertain political parties that are saying to you that these particular departments that they will be running, they will drive their own policy? As much as we want to equate this moment to 94, it is not.
It is definitely not 94. We are not equating it in any way. We have characterized it properly. We said it's a moment with a different outcome that require us to respond to it. And that is why when we characterized it, we didn't arrive at a single solution that fits all. We said that the moment first, politically, how do we characterize it? Is that we have lost elections. South Africans want us plainly to govern with others together. That's what we said. So what solution do you have for that outcome? We said it requires a government of national unity. The government of national unity of 1994 was entrenched in the Constitution, and it was not to be there forever. So we then said this movement requires us for everybody to work together. Then let's talk to everyone, and so that people can contribute to it. And that is why we talk about Lizeka, a strategic framework that is going to come out of this process towards the establishment of this government of national unity. It will be reflected in the executive, this government of national unity. It will also be reflected also in the legislatures and the National Assembly and all of that. It is no longer a situation where you are a 60% party, you are dominant, you can do things alone. You've got to work with others, albeit with limited roles. Not that when you come to the National Assembly committees and everything is ANC-led. This moment and the situation and the outcome does not permit us to do that. So you've got to then put the mind together in terms of how you are then going to navigate through that particular process and work around it to ensure that it serves everybody. But in serving everybody doesn't mean it's a melting pot where in which each of these political parties don't have an identity, and that's it. Yes, they don't have an identity, they don't have a program of action and all of that. The question of sealed agreements, remember, we've got the Constitution. It must be also located there, because there is nothing in the Constitution that talks about within state departments sealed agreements. It's unconstitutional. You will be challenged here in South Africa that we are doing something unconstitutional. We've got Chapter 9 institutions that keep us in check. We've got a constitution that enables us to respond to situations when we're faced with difficulties. There is nothing that says you constitute an executive with others through sealed agreements. The question is, how do you then safeguard your interest within the government of national unity to pursue the mandate of your constituents? It's constraining, it's complex, it's a question of how, in the context of the law, the government of national unity navigate that. The foundational principle of what we all agree about with everybody, we want stability. We don't want anarchy here, where tomorrow government is coming down and then there are challenges and all of that and so on. And when we talk about stability, it's not, I've seen other people vulgarizing it to the extent of even talking about the markets. and everything else and so on. We're talking stability in terms of governance. Today, you don't have stability in local government because of the partners you choose. There is no framework. Because you work with political parties there who change depending on what is the weather that day. And then this weekend, if they want to elect a new speaker and they come together about it, they do that. It has brought stability. Look at Pretoria. Look at Tshwane. What it has done in terms of stability in those areas. You say in Johannesburg, you say there are potholes. When we were governing alone in Johannesburg, there was stability in relation to service delivery. Pick it up, everything you can talk about. So you don't see the effect of stability, of destabilization from the program, from the problem of changing governance and all of that, because in the model of some of these municipalities does not insulate the public servants from the political leadership. But in terms of our constitution, the state is intact, political leadership can change and everything else, but government will function. But government can be destabilized by the political setup if there is no stability there. So we serve the interest of the people of South Africa, and when we put these principles across and talking about this GNU we are talking about, whether you call it cooperation or we call multi-partyism and all of that, people agree about this is what binds us together. We are in if you are pursuing the following. And that is what is important.
You'll be the last person.
Madlingi, are you still sure? You see people put it there the last.
No, SG.
Okay. All right.
It was recognized, and of course we can't sleep here, colleagues. It's really been long, and I think the SG has indulged all of us. You'll be the last person.
I just have 3 questions for SG. My first question would be...
3.
Were you surprised by the election results and the loss of support for the ANC? And the future of the GNU is going to be dominated by the ANC in most conservative parties such as the DA and the RP, which sort of links with the history of the apartheid era, and why is this the ANC?
That's definitely 5 questions.
Yeah, let's remind you that in 1994, we came into a government of national unity, even with people who took us to jail. Did we die? We didn't. Did we survive? That moment we did. Did we deliver for our people? We did. Right? So this moment itself is not like we're going into something or conceptualize something that defines the death of the ANC. So what it means is that you didn't win elections, and how do you respond to this particular moment? And that's it. And for anyone to change the constitution requires 2/3 majority. And the foundation, which is our constitution, all the important things that we wanted to achieve are entrenched in the constitution, also in terms of the Bill of Rights. So they are not going to be changed because that's not the mandate of these political parties. None of these political parties have got a mandate to change the constitution which we adopted in 1996, which guarantees the rights. Let's say, for instance, there is a party that would have come into this JNU with ultra-conservative ideas, backwardness, tribalism, and all of that. They will not be able to amend the constitution. To do that, they must get 2/3 majority. So we are safeguarded and defended by the constitution. That's the first thing you must understand. This notion that when you talk to a political party that you are opposed to diametrically and ideologically, you are actually showing signs of being swallowed by the enemy or your opponent. It's incorrect. Let's argue in political terms what is enemy for the ANC. Because there is overlapping between what you characterize as the enemy and to your strategic opponent. Will I say the person who sits opposite to me in the benches, yeah, the DA, the EFF, and everybody else, are they enemies? No, they are strategic opponents. I know my enemy. My enemy, as much as it's not clearly defined like before 1994, the enemy was apartheid machinery. Let's render it unworkable and fight it. Today, the enemy is more sophisticated in terms of what it comes to represent against the ANC and the ideals of the African National Congress. Will the ANC abandon its ideas in terms of its foreign policy and the ANC in terms of what it stands for? Let's say for the people of Palestine, the people of Western Sahara and everywhere else, Cuba and everywhere. We're not going to change that. Will the DA change from what it represents? It will not change. Why do you mislead South Africa into an ideological, I don't know, highway of sort, that if you talk to this one, we are gone? I see cheap politicking even on social media, that you can imagine this. Now, people think of things like, if you imagine this, it means the ANC is gone. That is misleading, populist, and at the same time seeking to hijack the revolution through populism. It is not like that. It is not like that. No political party that is going to die here simply because it agrees with GNU. We've got a strong constitutional foundation that leads us. And if the ANC abandons all the ideals of what it stands for in this particular process, then it will mean the ANC have gone below 6 million people to 1 million people. We are told here by people who have campaigned very hard to bring us below 50%. We are below 50%, they don't know what to do. Because they have achieved their goal, that we must be below 50%. When they were conceptualizing the idea of bringing us under 50%, what were they thinking? Didn't they think that the revolution will be compromised to this extent of being vulnerable? That you've got to talk to people that under normal circumstances you were not supposed to talk to, over matters that you could resolve internally in the party. They did not think about this moment, that you are pushing back the gains of the revolution. You are setting us back, and this is what it has done. So we are on the recovery, and we still have got to think hard about this moment, not just cheap politicking and ideological distortion that has been doing rounds all over the place. The key question before us and revolutionaries is, having suffered the setback, how do you then claw back? And that is what is important. And in this particular instance, the responsibility is on us to define how we are going to move forward, not on these political parties and everyone else. We know our enemies, right? We know our opponents. Our opponents are here in this National Assembly, and they won votes. The people have voted for them. They've given them votes, including those who broke away from us. They've got votes. And the question before them is, with these votes that we got, what do we want to do with them? Others, the votes that they got, they won positions. Right? Others, the votes that they got, we don't know what they want. So the question is, we shouldn't be here, we are here, and what do we do about it? The ANC is applying itself to that. And that is why today we're talking GNU. We talked GNU even when we got 62% overwhelming majority with Mandela, because we're addressing reconciliation. We are very aware that this GNU does not address reconciliation. It addresses the interest of the people of South Africa first, given the outcome of the election. How do we advance the interest of the people in unity? That is not elusive. That is what is fundamental about this GNU. That even if you can go and mobilize others and work on your own, will that not polarize this society further and basically set the country on a backward motion? and bring about instability in the country does not flourish, does not advance. This moment can make us even to gain more. Even in things that we could not do, we can do them in this moment going forward. That's what it is. That's what it is, because somebody somewhere did not go and vote or voted otherwise and did not even vote for the ANC. Will you punish that person by bringing instability in the country and turn this beautiful country to something else? No, ANC is not going to do that. ANC will work for the stability of the country and will engage everybody through a national dialogue, and we will join it, not on our own, but with the rest of South Africans. Maybe people have been talking and they think we are not listening, and they needed us to be in this moment for us to listen to them, and that is what is important. So the question is, as a revolutionary party, you don't become arrogant and you don't become you don't suffer from inertia. You give yourself a moment to reflect and think, and in order to advance, and that's what is important. So I studied Mao Zedong in terms of the guerrilla warfare, and what he says is that to take 3 steps backward does not mean defeat. It means a reflection. Look at where China is today. So I don't know where we are in South Africa. We didn't take 3 steps backward. The people made us
represent when they speak like they want the EFF, when they've not, for a very long time, did not support the EFF. We know that we'll have family members, we'll have friends, we'll have business partners who see this as an opportunity for immediate accumulation. Let that temptation not be surrendered to. Let the discipline of the EFF reign supreme amongst the leaders and the members of our organization. We believe in the militancy and the radicalism of the EFF. We believe in the unity of purpose for the EFF, and we believe strongly that it is this collective effort and united forces of the left that will win against forces of darkness. I thank you.
Thank you, President. Question time, and I know there's going to be a lot of questions, the hands are up. So we're going to take a round of 7 first, and hopefully we will get to the point. If you covered, let's just say we covered, okay. So we're going to go number 1, number 2, number 3, I think that's Jamie at the back, number 4. Okay, let's go with number 4. We'll conclude with number 4 there. Number 1. A media house and your full name, please.
Okay, Lizega Tandwa, Sunday Times. Mr. Malema, can you perhaps share what was the President's reaction and response to you during this conversation? And just your own interpretation of what is happening with this GNU. A lot of people have been raised concern around Parliament not having, or opposition parties rather, not playing their role as watchdogs to the government of the day. Is this not an opportunity for you to play that role? What do you say to that?
Number 2 is over here.
The name is Abdurrahman Khan. I'm from Muslim Matters newspaper. I think 2 years ago, CIC, you made a statement that the President Ramaphosa is a project of the DA. Can you expound on that, what you mean by that, and do you think this is what it is all about, this government of national unity, and they're now in bed with the DA? And secondly is, do you foresee the demise of the ANC?
Number 3, it was Jamie at the back.
Jamie Mighty from Africa Research Desk. My question is around funding. You've pointed out that the Oppenheimers have influenced the political outcomes by the discourse through funding of various political parties. It also seems that Michel Leroux of Capitec also influenced funding through some of his vehicles, which went to the DA. The question is more long-term, and about going forward. How will these funding dynamics be dealt with in the South African democracy, considering that some of these billionaire entities also control polling companies and they also control media houses? For instance, we saw Naspers donating to 2 political parties, and they also own publications that are reporting on preferred coalition partners. So I wonder what the EFF thinks about that participation of money, but also how is that mitigated to give the general populace, which doesn't have billions, an equivalent say? Thank you.
Number 4 was here in the front.
Meshach Makora from Daily Sun. I would like to know from you, Mr. Malema, do you believe South Africa is ready for inclusive government and the proposed GNU by the ANC? Secondly, EFF shares common ground with the ANC, especially on the land issue. Don't you think being part of the GNU would assist to propel the country toward that direction?
Thank you, President. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, my discussion with the president were cordial, and he appreciated the EFF's offer and said that it shouldn't be very difficult for them to come back to us with a clear, definite answer. So after the NEC, I'm going to have a meeting again with the president to have a final detail of what is the agreement. And we see that as a role that we're elected to play. We're not elected to be government, that's why we don't have a majority. But if we play any role in parliament, that's what we're elected to do. We are members of parliament, we can be chairpersons of parliament, we can be speaker of parliament. It's a responsibility which the electorate said, go and execute. So playing an oversight will not necessarily only mean that you must be in opposition and without any single position in the legislature or parliament. We remain in opposition in positions of committees, in positions of deputy speaker or a speaker. And that even makes that committee to be more effective, because departments are no longer going to go there knowing very well that they're going to enjoy the protection of the chairperson. So that will give the EFF the most efficient and effective way of holding the executive accountable. And that's why we think there is no contradiction in doing that. The interpretation I've given to you, it's a plan B. The first plan was to buy South Africa through the funding of political parties. That's why there is a party change which was given more than 30 million. It ended up not participating in the election. Then Rise Mzansi and all kinds of political parties given huge millions. And what did South Africans do? Rejected those millions. So this answers the same question. What are you saying about the future funding by these institutions which have got control over the research institute, which have got control over the media? South Africans are going to become more and more wiser. And they've demonstrated during these elections that they cannot be bought. They rejected millions. The Oppenheimers were dishing out money unashamedly. When we say Oppenheimers, we mean all of those people. Oppenheimer is a representative of those multimillionaire families of the Ruperts and the Minels and all of them who have been pumping money to try and manipulate the political landscape in South Africa, and that has successfully failed. So what do? We retreat back to our traditional political parties and then unite them. The IFP is not an organization outside the Oppenheimers. It was formed by them. Who in his rightful mind will give Tlhabisa 20 million? Because he can't even speak to that 20 million himself. So why would someone say, yes, 20 million to Tlhabisa? To do what with it? Tlhabisa was given 20 million and then he was pushed out of the campaign. The campaign was run by the chairperson and the premier candidate of the IFP in KZN. I found Tlhabisa campaigning in Malamulele. I'm like, what is he doing in Malamulele? That's how much he was pushed out of the campaign. But the money was put inside the IFP, because the IFP is an entity of the Oppenheimer family. You have all seen at the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelez's funeral, where no less than 4 members of the Oppenheimer family are in attendance. There is a video of them greeting President Ramaphosa at Prince Mangosuthu Buthelez's funeral. The Oppenheimers did not go to Mandela's family. They were not a factor in Mandela's family, a funeral. The Oppenheimers did not go to Obama's lecture in Johannesburg about Mandela, that memorial, what. They were not playing any role. But in the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelez's funeral, they played a prominent role. Why? The Oppenheimers wanted Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to be the first black president of South Africa. They never believed in the ANC and Nelson Mandela. That's why when Nelson Mandela's first meetings outside South Africa, he was asked by Britain as to what is going to be the role of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi in your cabinet when you win the elections. So Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and the IFP have always been the project of the Oppenheimer family. The DA, it goes without saying. They control it. Now, they've got hold on the president of the ANC, and the situation demand that they must all come together. The DA complained and supported the impeachment of the president. The DA complained about Paul Mashatile. The DA complained about all the corrupt people. All of a sudden, they've got nothing to say about those people. That is an indication that someone came to take out the brain and said, we're moving this direction and we don't want to be questioned. Why would all of a sudden the DA see holy and good leadership in the ANC when they've not throughout the years? Is because when the numbers put together, the Oppenheimers see that they will still continue to be in charge. So the ANC played with an opportunity to isolate imperialist forces and the white monopoly capital in South Africa. This was an opportune moment for progressive political formations to come together. The president says to me, we cannot form the GNU without a DA because we want a non-racial GNU. I asked him a question. Are you saying the ANC is not a non-racial organization? Because the ANC is a non-racial organization without the DA. So why would it say, when it comes to government, if there's no DA, we are not non-racial? But when they run their daily activities, including in their constitution, they are non-racial. I said to the president, there are white people in the ANC, in the EFF, in all the progressive formations. White people are found there. If it's about the question of non-racialism, we can still find white people from amongst ourselves. It's not the question of non-racialism. We are not opposed to white people. We are opposed to white supremacy. We are opposed to racism. We are opposed to Afrikanerdom. We are opposed to white monopoly capital. Any other progressive name that gets to be put forward by the president of a white person, Indian person, colored person, African person, as long as that is a progressive name, will support it. I said to the president, we voted for the DA in 2016, where you, comrades, were arrogantly defying and denying us an opportunity to work together in 2016. We said to you, let's work together. You said, no, we don't want to work with you in the arrogant manner you are doing. What did we do? We pulled out where the DA was defeating you. We folded our hands. And I said to him, to show you it's not a question of race, and don't leave here saying I'm anti-white people. In 2016, we refused to participate in municipalities with the DA led by a black person. It was led by Maimani. In Joburg, it was led by Mashaba. We still said, we don't care who are the faces. This organization is a tool for imperialism and for white monopoly capital. So it's not about color. It's about the party that represents backwardness, a party that is a racist organization, a party like Freedom Front that says part of its conditions to go into a coalition is that we must declare Orania as a white Afrikaner land. And you say to us, we must go and participate in such a coalition. We'll never do that. Remember, when you are in cabinet, once you are defeated in argument, those decisions are binding on you. As a disciplined member of cabinet, you must go and defend that Orania must be a land of the Afrikaners. We will not do that. We will rather die without occupying positions in government than to allow white supremacists and racists to thrive. Fighters, inclusive government should not mean a compromise on the principle. We are for inclusive government. That's why we said today, we are the first political party to say to the ANC, we will work with you. But because we understood the element of inclusive government and government of national unity. But it does not mean we must sleep with Zionists with our eyes open. We're not going to do that. We said to the people of Palestine, we said to the Muslim communities everywhere in South Africa, the vote and the victory of the EFF is a victory of the people of Palestine. Those Muslims who voted for the EFF, those Muslims who have voted for the ANC, what are you saying to them when you go immediately in bed with the people who have supported a genocide, the killing of innocent women and children, and we must close our eyes in the name of inclusive government and overlook humanity? We will not do that as the EFF. President Ramaphosa has always been a project of these people. From school, he went straight to work for Urban Foundation, to work for the Oppenheimers. President Ramaphosa formed NUM. He has never been a mine worker. He has never been underground. From school straight, he was given money with other colleagues to form an NUM that was funded directly by the Oppenheimers. How does NUM, which had a policy conference over the weekend, sing a song, Sebenza kanzima, we're not being paid money, we're paid peanuts, and then one of the people who joins them in singing that song is Pravin Gordhan. They even get addressed by Pravin Gordhan, who's in cahoots with these mines that are exploiting the mine workers. That's a huge contradiction. It can clearly indicate to you that these people do not mean anything they are saying. So this is the end of the ANC. It is not of our own making. The ANC is not dying because the EFF is growing. The ANC is dying a natural death. With or without Zuma, the projections were the way they are now. Before the formation of MKP, the research showed that the ANC is going to go below 50%. And Mbalula pulled it below 30%. At some point on the board, it went below 40% for real. So this is the end of it. Because you cannot say you want to change the property relations and you are engaged in the struggle for land, and then you go into cahoots with the people who are actually opposed to that struggle for the land. So South Africans, there is a story being peddled that we are flip-floppers because in 2016 we worked with DA and today we say we can't work with DA. Let's put it on record, lazy readers and lazy thinkers and people with a memory of a chicken, go and check those facts. We have never worked with the DA. We said we are going to fold our arms because the ANC was arrogantly engaging us. We folded our arms and the DA dealt with them. And today you want to now turn the whole thing and say the EFF worked with the DA. We never worked with the DA. We never had an MMC under the DA government. We never had a speaker under the DA government. We never asked that which we're asking from the ANC, from the DA. There's an opportunity for progressive forces to align. When we say progressive forces, the people say you are saying black parties. There are no black parties. We are not a black party. We are a progressive force of the left. We are saying the progressive forces must align. I told President very clearly that maybe sometimes this thing rings nicely in your ear when the DA says we'll work only with the ANC of Ramaphosa. It's not true. The ANC of Ramaphosa lost in Tshwane, in Joburg, in Tekwini, in Ikuruleni, and PE. Why didn't the DA offer the president what he is offering them now? Why didn't the DA say there is no outright winner? Come ANC of Ramaphosa, let's work together in Tshwane. If this situation we're in now was the DA in this situation with 40% and Freedom Front with 11% and ACDP with 5%, we're not going to be talking these things we're talking. They would have united and isolated all the progressive forces. And I'm not speculating. I'm telling you facts. Go and check in Tshwane, where the DA has got no outright majority, did it invite the ANC of Ramaphosa because they can only work with the ANC of Ramaphosa? The ANC is under Ramaphosa now, in Tshwane, in Joburg, in Ekurhuleni. Why is the DA not inviting him? It is because Ramaphosa suffers from inferiority. He cannot work without white supervision. To invite the DA is to invite supervisors. It's not to invite progressive white people to come and join hands with us to rebuild South Africa. So we reject this government with everything it deserves, for as long as it puts in white supremacists, it puts in Afrikanerdom, it puts in colonialism and imperialism, will not be part of the neo-colonial government. Comrades and everybody else who seek to persuade us otherwise, we are making a plea: leave us alone. If this is our natural death, let us die with our boots on.
Thank you, President. We're going to do another round, and hopefully it's the last round. EWN sitting right here in the front. 1, 2, 3, Sunday World. 4, Kaya. I saw you. 5, Newsroom. 6, with the overall, the red, no, it's not quite a red overall. Number 6. Number 1.
Also. Thabiso Goba from Eyewitness News. I know, Mr. Malema, you addressed that the ANC should stop purging your MMCs in some municipalities. I just want to know, what is the future of your provincial Gauteng chairperson, Kululeko Dunga? Is he going to remain in Ekurhuleni, or is he going to go back to the, or is he going to go to the provincial legislature? Thank you.
Good evening, Paul Vecchiota from Bloomberg. If your suggestion of taking up certain positions by party members in the legislature isn't met, will you be prepared at looking at doing something of forming an opposition party alliance, for want of a better term, against the ANC/DA government, so, and with the EFF becoming the leader of that opposition bloc or alliance? Thank you.
Number 3.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mawande. I work for the Sunday World. Mr. Malema, as it relates to the purging, as you put it, of the EFF MMCs, as we saw in Ekurhuleni yesterday, and there's already a talk that the ANC has taken a decision that it will divorce the EFF in Ekurhuleni as well as Johannesburg. And in line with what you are saying, that you've requested that be put to a stop. If that doesn't happen, what is the strategy of the EFF as it relates to that? And also, in Gauteng as well, is the EFF willing to support Mr. Panyaza Lesufi to return as the Premier of Gauteng? We saw that he's been shortlisted as the Premier candidate of the ANC in that province. Since you've been working well with the ANC under Mr. Lesufi in that particular province of Gauteng. About KZN, you say that you will support the MKP to govern in that province because they got majority of the votes. The question then becomes, is it an informal support, or do you have a formal agreement with the MK party? And if you do have a formal agreement, what are the details of that agreement? Do you share the executive, or do you want to participate in the provincial legislature? Thank you very much.
Number 4 was next, Kaya.
Good evening, Mr. Malema. Katleo Sohoto from Kaya 959. Just your sense on what you make of some of the MK internal leadership challenges, especially as we've seen the expelled member, Mr. Jabulani Khumalo, losing his court bids. In your talks with the party, the weight of those internal challenges, how does it affect those possible conversations that you're having with them?
And then number 5 is all the way over here.
Evening, it's Zianda Ngobo from Newsroom Africa. My question is similar to that of Bloomberg's. If the ANC then rejects this proposal that you put on the table with the president today, what does that mean in terms of your ability to plan for 2026 local government elections? Would it also mean that you would have overplayed your hand if some of your constituency believes that you may have not actually put the best offer on the table and linked to what you've touched on briefly, Mr. Malema, when it comes to the prospects of growth for the organization? Thank you. And number 6, just behind.
Hi, my name is Bulelani from SABC. Also, just linked to what Paul has asked. If your demand for the position of Speaker and Deputy Speaker is not met by the ANC, will you be posting a presidential candidate during the vote? And secondly, will you be actively lobbying some of the ANC MPs who are allegedly not in support of the ANC-DA coalition to vote with your candidate? Thank you.
President?
Thank you very much. The MMC of EFF in Ekurhuleni Dunga he remains a councillor of the EFF in Ekurhuleni, and if we are not finding each other with the president, we are going to withdraw all our MMCs in all areas where we are participating with the ANC. So if by this evening Dunga is not reappointed as the MMC of Finance, all our MMCs in Johannesburg, in Mohale City, in PE, in Ekurhuleni, all of them are going to step down. We're not scared of a fight. They want to bring it on, we're ready for it. And we're not desperate for positions, we have never been. We are here to make a contribution. I just saw this as muddying the waters during the most critical period where we have to find each other. A person goes and removes an MMC at night without even engaging the leadership of the EFF. We have had a very good working relationship with the leadership of the ANC in Gauteng. We have had direct communication with the chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng and the secretary. But since the announcement that they are going to work with the DA, those guys have completely blocked us from any form of communication. So don't think you can threaten the EFF by taking away MMCs. We will never be shaken by such things. We are aware that they say they are going to unplug us. We cannot be unplugged by fools. We are going to withdraw ourselves. We are not desperate, and we are going to remain. There is no Dunga who's going to any legislature. He's going to be a councillor, and he's going to fight from the opposition benches in the Ekurhuleni municipality. And the same goes for all of them. So the deputy president must start preparing resignation letters for all of them. That once I meet the president, they say they are not willing to accommodate it tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. Then we know the deal is off. And we can as well just walk away. We are not like Muzwandile Masina, who was desperate till now, bitter to the end, wanting to be a mayor at all costs. So we're not those kind of people who are here for position. South Africa, we have made contribution to the struggle of South Africa at an early age. And it doesn't mean we must exit through ministerial positions or anything. We can exit at any time if the South Africans wish so. But you cannot do away with the kind of contribution we've made in the struggle for the total liberation of our people in South Africa. So be rest assured, we cannot be intimidated by positions. Positions are never anything. Listen to all these ex-prisoners, gangsters, and all of them, how they negotiate. They tell you position from when they enter the gate. No principles, no nothing. The DA has got no principal agreements with the ANC. They've agreed on positions. They actually told him that we want 1, 2, 3, 4 departments, and those departments must be exclusively for us, and you must not interfere. And he says he has refused. He said, no, We can agree on ministries as to which ones that should be left to the president. And there's no ministry that can be exclusively for white people of the DA. Because cabinet ministry means a collective leadership. So it can't be that there are certain departments which are not accountable to the president. At least if he's honest by that, then we know that there's already a contestation. Right at the beginning, they can't find one another. So let's allow that process to unfold. If the DA goes into government, and this must be known to all of you, if the DA goes into government, the official opposition is MKP. That's what you must know. That's how it works. There's no one who's going to be in government and still be an official opposition. And MKP and ourselves were together. We shall be official opposition together. We'll help each other in that role together. We are more experienced than them. We've been here. And we've got a cordial relationship with them. So even when we are chairpersons of the committees or speakers, we remain opposition. It is allowed. They can't say you are now a chairperson of a committee, you can't be an opposition party. No. The IFP was the chairperson of SCOPA, and it remained an opposition party. So our acceptance of this responsibility, if Veronica becomes a speaker, it doesn't mean anything about EFF being an opposition. It remains an opposition party opposed to the current government. There's no need, really. The people of South Africa must swallow what they've decided to chew. And they decided to chew 40% of the ANC. So why should you field a presidential candidate for what? That's what they said they want. Why do they go and make decisions and hope someone is going to rescue them from the other side? It's their own decision. They chose load shedding. They chose Ramaphosa. They chose the highest level of unemployment. They chose racism. That's what they chose. So if the ANC fails to come together with progressive formations, we are prepared to sit back. But let's tell you, we'll fully participate in this parliament. And this time around, we've taken a decision not to play a role of a disruption, of being robust, of engaging to a point where we follow up that which was rejected illegally in parliament through peaceful protest on the streets. You will never see us on the stage. You will never see us fighting with any bouncer, anything of that sort. We are here as a 10-year-old organization with mature parliamentary politics, well experienced, to make sure that the views of those who voted for us are well represented. From now onwards, when you say there is a racist at our work, we check the historical tweeting of yours. If you have been tweeting ANC, DA, go and fight with those white people alone. We are now representing our own people who have been supporting us. Skatel manje. Skatel. We are with our people. And let me reassure you, this party is going to grow. This deal is the best deal you can ever think of. We did this deal almost the same in 2016. What happened after 2016? We increased our votes in 2019. We moved from 25 members of parliament to 44 members of parliament. So we have never engaged in a deal that is detriment to the growth of the EFF. We've always made calculations as to how do we grow our movement. So we are well within our right. We have not lost our support. The base that we started with in 2014 were not there. Anyone who says we are back there is not true. We are not in 2014. We have just lost some few seats and we are going to bounce back very strongly in 2026, and we are going to work in a focused manner. If you go and look at the list of the EFF now, in the legislatures, in the national parliament, in the NCOP and look at where those people are coming from, we no longer put people who come from constituencies that don't vote for EFF. We are now choosing people who are choosing the EFF. We are a national organization, we'll find footprint everywhere. But we're not going to have, for instance, over-representation of people of KwaZulu-Natal in this parliament when they've not given us anything. They will get what is proportionate to what they gave us in these elections. And that applies to everyone. So we need to make sure that we all, if we need the assistance of the EFF, let's vote for the EFF. After the election, someone sends me a video of a community drinking water from a well. A well is like a hole. So they take water with a cup, put in a bucket. They say, no, can you do borehole for these people? Then I said, that's fine, we'll do a borehole. Send me the VD results of that voting station. And then they said, ANC, so why are you sending me this? Go where you voted. You don't know where you voted. Why are you coming to me? So when a water comes from a well, it tells you that there's too much water underground. Even when you drill a borehole, you're not going to struggle. Yet an ANC councillor does not drill a borehole. The ANC municipality does not drill a borehole. The ANC government does not drill a borehole. The EFF must go and drill a borehole. No, we now know the VDs that have voted for the EFF, and those are the people who are going to service. It doesn't mean we can't grow our base into the other constituencies, but as a party, you need to have your priorities right. Otherwise, you are going to undermine your growth. You are going to invest your resources where there are no dividends. We need dividends now. I'm really pleading, whether we like MKP or we don't like MKP, if you want peace in KwaZulu-Natal, which is not going to be instigated by MKP, which is not going to be instigated by EFF, that violence, the people are going to rise. If you go against the wish, you know, in KZN is West, the MKP get 45%. The second party gets 18%. And you still think you can overlook that party? I told President Cyril Ramaphosa, I said, your own rules on coalition say a party with the highest number must be the one that lead. Please allow MKP to lead. Do not undermine the voice of the people of KwaZulu-Natal if we respect democracy. And we make that plea that please allow MKP to lead in KwaZulu-Natal. We are not in any formal agreement with them. We are not for any cabinet position in KwaZulu-Natal. We are not for any speaker. We are not for anything. When we get invited, only then we'll look at what are the nitty-gritties of such an invitation. We have never had such a discussion with MKP. We are supporting MKP in KwaZulu-Natal from a principled point of view that says the party with the majority must be the one that lead. The DA, these hypocrites, have been advocating for that. When they've refused to give Action SA mayorship, when they refused to give their partners mayorship, they always said, we are the one with the highest number, and therefore we can't give you the mayorship. What has changed in KwaZulu-Natal? Why is the DA not applying the same principle? Why is the ANC not applying the same principle? So we are going to stick to this principle as the EFF. Be rest assured, fellow South Africans, the MKP will overcome its internal leadership squabbles. It comes with the territory. There is no single organization that was formed and never faced leadership challenges. There was Mutletama here, who had to run all over the streets of Cape Town being chased by Bernard Joseph. So what do I say? We had our own share, and look at us now. We are in a much more stable way. So we are really not bothered by some potential infiltration on the leadership of MKP. given President Zuma's experience, and given those guys that were negotiating with, Abu Natin Kleko, Abu former SARS, Tom Moyane, they are well-experienced people. Surely they should be knowing how to deal with potential internal leadership squabbles. As to what MKP stands for, what do they do and all of that, we are not the spokesperson of the MKP. Let them do whatever they want to do. The people chose them. And it's not only in KwaZulu-Natal, it's in South Africa. That's why I say to you, if the DA goes into government, MKP is the official opposition. Therefore, you want official statement on any issue, you are going to have to drive to Nkandla, like you did, to go and get official reaction of MKP, because it looks like the headquarters is there. So there's nothing we can do. The people of South Africa chose that. And all we can do as people who respect democratic principles is to stick to exactly that. So the EFF is not in any formal agreement, is not getting any executive position from MKP, and it hopes that MKP internal squabbles are just an irritation for a party that is new. So within a short space of time, we hope they will be able to overcome whatever difficulties they are confronted with. What we are interested in is to work with a solid party in the national parliament and in the legislature of KwaZulu-Natal, in the legislature of Gauteng. This part of engagement we're having with the ANC, the same principles applies everywhere. If they are going in bed with the DA in Gauteng, they must not count us in. Panyaza and TK, through their rightful conscience, they got defeated here. They've been very clear of what needs to happen. But they're a provincial structure from a fragmented organization, a highly divided organization, and if their voice is overpowered, there's nothing we can do. By the way, the DA coalition failed in the NEC. They defeated the DA coalition in the NEC. This is what happens now, these days, how the ANC is run in a criminal mafia style. They allow people to speak. Then they say, let's adjourn, the president is going to give a summary. Then what they do, they call you guys in. Then the president speaks in front of you. Those on the floor who feel that this is not the summary of the meeting, it's not a true reflection of what transpired in the meeting, they've got no platform to object to that because the media is already in. That thing Cyril was doing, I was in the NEC of the ANC. Zuma used to give, you know what the president of the ANC do? They come with a written political overview and they come with a written closing remarks. They come with 2 speeches. So you all speak. Then at the end they read that speech as if you never said anything. In that NEC where I was sitting, there was Tokyo Sowale. It was my job and Tokyo Sowale's job. When the president summarizes wrongly, Tokyo will call point of order in the NEC and say, that is not the summary of our meeting. Palaga will say, Comrade Tokyo, the meeting is closed. The president said, no, we can't allow that. We reopen that meeting and say, this is not a true reflection of what happened. What the president said is not a true reflection of what happened in the NEC. And that is going to paralyze that organization. That is going to further divide that organization. That's what led to Ngukai Toby resigning in the Eastern Cape. That this is not what we agreed on. And I must now sit here with my right conscience and tell my people to go and vote for DA when I know this was not a true reflection of the meeting. So, but that is their own internal problems. So all I'm saying is, it's not like this matter of the DA is enjoying the popular narrative even internally in the ANC. It's a lie. It's News24, is that foundation of the Oppenheimers, Brandhurst, that says, no, this is a popular view or the markets and all of that. We chose the markets for 30 years. Look at us now. The president says, no, we have done this in 1994 under Madiba, and we can do the same. And look at us, we're able to neutralize these people. I said to him, no. Our anger today as the youth of South Africa is, you guys gave a lot in CODESA and in 1994. The National Party came in, neutralized you, made you to adopt a constitution that is going to restrict you. When they knew they had you at the corner, they pulled out of the coalition. You are not going to ask me to repeat your mistake of 1994. I'm not coming to that past. And easy. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are done for tonight. Thank you, and we will see you all tomorrow at the swearing-in. Thank you, President and officials. We'll just allow the officials to leave first, please. Let's just remain seated. I'm the national spokesperson. We are here today for a press briefing led by our national officials. We have our Treasurer General to my right and your left. We have our national chairperson next to her. We have our Deputy Secretary General at the far right. And your left, I'm a bit dyslexic when it comes to left and right. Our Secretary General, our Deputy President has also joined us today, and our Commander-in-Chief, President Julius Malema, will be leading our media briefing. Thank you, President.
Oh, this one. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our spokesperson and officials, the journalists, and the people of South Africa. The economic freedom fighters has been engaging different role players on constituting a stable government in South Africa following the 2024 general elections, which did not produce an outright winner. We have since the official announcement of the final result met with the leadership of the ANC, MKP, UDM, ATM, Al-Jamaa, and the PAC. Our basis of engagement with all these political parties was based on the principle of constituting a stable parliament and government which will lead South Africa for the next 5 years. As we stated in the press conference we held at the IEC Results Operations Center on the 1st of June 2024, our principles and pillars of negotiations and meetings with all political parties include the following: appreciation of the EFF 7 non-negotiable pillars for economic freedom in our lifetime, service delivery commitments with timelines, particularly on land, jobs, water, electricity, flushing toilets, free education, 24/7 clinics per ward, and houses for all people with disability within a year. Anti-racism, meaning that whatever coalition the EFF participate in must not reinforce white supremacy and Afrikanerism. Anti-imperialism, meaning that whoever we partner with must not be a puppet or representation of the West imperialist agenda and interests in South Africa. Commitment to African unity for common prosperity and development. Publication of all the concrete agreements reached with coalition partners to avoid a perception that they are secret agreements. Constant and honest engagements and report to the people on the progress made on coalitions. Despite our commitment to unite all opposition parties to completely remove the ANC from power, since it was rejected by 59% of voters of South Africa, we did not and will from now henceforth never meet with the Democratic Alliance and all right-wing Oppenheimer-funded political parties. The DA is our enemy. These right-wing and neoliberal parties represent a reactionary, counter-revolutionary, and neo-colonial agenda which seeks to protect the existing property relations in South Africa, where the white supremacy continue to be the economic majority. We report to South Africa I have explained, they are poisonous. We further emphasize to the President that in the government of national unity, because that is a plan B for the Oppenheimer family. With the DA and the Freedom Front in it, where